take the roll. The board had been in an attorney-client session, and based upon the discussions we had in the attorney-client session, no action will be taken tonight. So at this time, Mrs. Bass, would you please call the roll?
District 1, Barbara McQuinn. Here. District 2, Chuck Shaw.
Here.
District 3, Karen Brill. Here. District 4, Erica Whitfield. Here. District 5, Frank Barbieri. Here. District 6, Marcia Andrews. Here. District 7, Deborah Robinson. Here.
Let the record show all 7 board members are here. This month we have one proclamation on the agenda declaring September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month. And tonight we have the Lake Worth High School Air Force ROTC here to present the flag. Immediately following, we have Grace Barrett, a senior at Alex Dreyfus School of the Arts, who will be performing the national anthem. So at this time, we'll please stand for the presentation of colors, the pledge, and the national anthem. Our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Sure.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the free and the home of the brave?
Face. Forward. March.
Again, thank you very much. We'd like to also recognize and thank the principal of Lake Worth High School, Dr. Elvis Epps, and the principal at Dreyfus School of the Arts, Dr. Susan Atherley. So thank you all so very much. All right. Carol, my computer's frozen. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, items 1 through 7. Is there a motion to approve items 1 through 7? Motion by Dr. Robinson, second by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed. Motion carries. Our first item, we have some items that were added. My computer is frozen up, so we're getting me hopefully signed on. We have one item, PF1 was added, or has been pulled, and Dr. Fenoy, we had one item added, P2 and SSEA 9. Are there any other items to add?
There's no other items to add.
And we had 3 items pulled. Are there any other items to pull?
We have 3 items to withdraw. COM2, Jonathan's Landing Cares donation to Jupiter Elementary School. CS1, South Tech Preparatory Academy, Second Amendment to Charter Contract. And SSEA 4, 21st Century Community Learning Centers.
All right. And we have one item pulled so far, FMPF1. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Mrs. Brill, second by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed. And Dr. Robinson, you can have your computer back. Thank you very much. Disclosures and abstentions. I do have one disclosure I need to make. One of the items that we have on the agenda tonight is the contract with PMF for financial services. And I think the board knows that I serve as the chair of the Florida Education Investment Trust, and PMF is the financial advisor on that particular one. Any other disclosures or abstentions? Seeing none, we'll move on to superintendent and board members' comments. Dr. Fenoy.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Shaw. Good afternoon. As I mentioned last week, the process of hiring school police officers is ongoing, and this morning, 2 more officers sworn into our department by Chief Kitzrow. I'd like to welcome Stephen Wunderlich, who has 27 years of experience working for Homeland Security, and Corey Blackwell, who has 26 years of experience working for the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. These 2 are examples of the many, many seasoned officers who have brought their vast experience to keep our students safe. Speaking of experience, as you know, yesterday was the 17th anniversary of the attacks on September 11th. I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to recognize and thank the 20 school police officers who served for the NYPD and were first responders not only on that day, but in the days after, returning to Ground Zero daily to search for survivors and victims. We are truly fortunate to have these brave men and women from the NYPD who have chosen to return to law enforcement in our schools. As long as I'm bragging about our school police, I also want to mention that Officer Rosemarie White recently received the Community Service Award from Palmwood Masonic Lodge in West Palm Beach for her commitment to the students of St. Lucia's Community High School. Officer White works with the school's Criminal Justice Academy, directly working with students who are interested in pursuing a career in law enforcement. She is also responsible for organizing an annual softball tournament with the Academy students to raise money to provide shoes to children in need. Congratulations, Officer White. Today, the names of the 2019 National Merit Scholarship semifinalists were released, and we are very proud to announce that 59 of our high school seniors have been selected for this esteemed scholarship. They will now compete to be finalists for the $31 million in scholarship money offered through the National Merit Program. Congratulations to these students. And finally, it is quite surreal to be recognizing a second-year teacher this year for doing this. But after spending my life in education, it shouldn't be surprised by the selflessness our teachers display. Watson B. Duncan Middle School teacher Julio Vega underwent surgery Monday to donate his kidney to a former Duncan Middle School student who was forced to spend 10 to 12 hours a day on dialysis before the surgery. Mr. Vega never had the student in his class, but when his fellow teachers learned of the need for the donation, she spread the word, and Mr. Vargas spent the summer going through the test to determine that he is a perfect match. I'm told that both the donor and recipient are doing well, and we wish them both the best in their recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a round of applause for his sacrifice. At this time, I'd like to call Dr. Glenda Sheffield to the to the table, to introduce Kelly Miles Burke, our new principal appointed to Olympic Heights High School.
Good Good afternoon. Chairman Shaw, Vice Chair Robinson, board members, Dr. Fenoy. It is with extreme pleasure that I bring before you Mrs. Kelly Mills Burke as the new principal of Olympic Heights Community High School. While doing so, it is extremely important that we thank Dave Clark, former principal of Olympic Heights, for the outstanding work that he's done there the past 7 years and the outstanding work that he's done for the School District of Palm Beach County for the 30-plus years. So again, I bring before you our new incoming principal of Olympic Heights Community High School on behalf of Dr. Salzman, Kelly Mills Burke.
Thank you, Dr. Sheffield. Well, good evening, board, school board, and Dr. Fenoy. First of all, I want to thank all of you for giving me this amazing opportunity to, as I've said, you probably read in the paper, I get to go back home. I spent about 7.5 years there as an assistant principal of curriculum, so I do truly feel like I've always been a lion at heart. And one of the things I do want to acknowledge is the 7.5 years I was there, I was fortunate to work with 3 amazing principals that are in the district still. And of course, she mentioned Mr. Dave Clark, but I also worked with Dr. Frank Rodriguez and Dr. Pete Licata. So I want to thank them for mentoring me, because I feel like I have all of their styles mixed into me, and I hope to do just as great of a job as they've done there. And I would be remiss also if I didn't thank all my support staff. Dr. Sheffield has been amazing in this transition, and Dr. Saltzman, and of course, Mrs. Wyatt. And I must thank my amazing husband and family for giving me the opportunity to do this. So once again, thank you so much, and I look forward to continuing the wonderful tradition and pride at Olympic Heights.
Thank you. Mr. Barbieri.
Yeah, Mr. Shaw and my colleagues on the board, I attended the Addison Meisner yesterday. The teachers had an opportunity to meet with Mrs. Wyatt to discuss what they wanted in a replacement to Mrs. Burke, and then I stayed for the parents that evening. And after the meeting, I called Mrs. Burke and I said, do you by chance have a twin sister, identical twin sister? And she said, why, did you find somebody who looks like me? And I said, no, but the parents and the teachers at Addison Meisner wanted Kelly Burke to replace Kelly Burke. So congratulations for a job well done at Addison Meisner. I know the parents are not happy that you're leaving, but I'm glad you're going to one of my other schools in my district. So congratulations.
Board member comments. Mrs. McQuinn.
Thank you. I just want to make some really quick comments. First of all, I wanted to say that just 2 quick thank yous. The first is to Ms. Diana Fetterman and to Cynthia Dillard, who's one of our community members and former staff member here, and Ms. Lori Drool, for we have had recently some exciting work that's going to be done. On September 25th, we're going to be doing a voter registration drive at our high schools, and I'm really excited to just be a part of this, and the work that they've done to get ready for this is very exciting. This past Saturday, I actually got to attend the training right here, and we had quite a few community members that came to be trained, but we have had about 203 volunteers in the community that have wanted to come and sign up for a school to be able to go to be able to register some of our students. As you know, you can register as early as 16 years old and get your name on that list, but you can't vote till you're 18. So we're really excited to have this opportunity at our schools. I'm going to be going to Atlantic High School, one of my schools. I'm super excited to do it, and I just want to put a sincere thank you to them and to the staff in our legal department that made this happen. So thank you to you. And secondly, today I actually got a chance to go and do my very first talk on the referendum, and I wanted to just say another quick thank you to Amity and her team for yesterday's training. That was so much fun to be able to go and see how many of our staff members are volunteering their time to go to community meetings to just inform people about this upcoming referendum. I think having that kind of support from our staff means everything and means a lot to what the work we're trying to do from up here for our schools. So I want to say thank you so much to the communications team and to everyone who is volunteering their time to go and do this. I think it's going to mean a lot come November. So thank you very much.
Mrs. Brill.
Thank you. So tonight, my comments are going to go in an entirely different direction. First, our thoughts and prayers are with those in the Carolinas as Hurricane Florence approaches. You know, all of us here have been there. We know what it's like, the preparations. It's scary, and so, you know, I can't help commenting and stating that we're all with them. Yesterday, as Dr. Fenoy mentioned, was Patriot Day. September 11th, 2001 has left an indelible mark upon all of us. As you heard from Dr. Fenoy, 20 of our district school police officers were first responders on that day and afterwards. Thank you for your heroism. I cannot help but remember the patriotism that grew out of that horrible, tragic day. We all became Americans first, and we set aside our political differences. The dichotomy between where we were as a nation after 9/11 and where we are now with the political infighting is striking. So much so that I cannot help hoping that it won't take another tragedy for us to unite once again as Americans. For those who are celebrating Shana Tova, Happy New Year. The Jewish Journal has a quote today from Rabbi Barry Silver in an article regarding an interfaith dialogue he is presenting next week at Santa Lucis High School, not during school hours. He organizes the dialogue every year and said there are many goals for it. One is to unite the religious community to solve the problems of the world. Another goal is to show that just because we disagree doesn't mean that we have to be disagreeable. I am proud that we as a school district teach our children to respect each other and to agree to disagree. Hopefully, as a nation, we can return to that. Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Andrews.
Thank you, and good afternoon. And certainly, Ms. Brill, our hearts and prayers are going out to all of the folks in the path of the hurricane. We know what it's like, and so we do have to pray. So we're praying for them. I'd like to say a little bit about our Glades Career Readiness Roundtable. I know you've heard me talk about the group that meets at the West Tech Educational Center once a month, and that group consists of educators, elected officials, community leaders, parents, Chamber of Commerce, businesses in the Glades region, and they've been meeting now for the past 5 years, truly making a difference. One of the things they did was to help us to get West Tech open and running for children and adults, as well as providing many, many opportunities for the community. And on yesterday was a great day because we celebrated two people who have truly made a difference at the round table. One person was Mary Lou Bedford. She is the president of the Central Chamber of Commerce, and the other person is Nancy Stelway, the chairman of the board for Take Stock in Children. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about Take Stock in Children. You already know all the great things that they do for the school district of Palm Beach County with all of the mentors, the scholarships, the support they give to our children everywhere in Palm Beach County. But they've done a great job in actually recruiting many, many mentors for the Glades region. Sometimes you can't always find the mentors, but they went out of their way to truly make a difference at Glades Central High School as well as Lakeshore High School to get an abundance of mentors so that we could take care of the mentees. So we awarded Nancy Stelway with a plaque on yesterday, as well as an award to Mary Lou Bedford from the Central Chamber of Commerce. When we first started 5 years ago, she came to the table and says, "What can I do?" Our Chamber of Commerce doesn't reach out to the Glades, but we're going to make a difference. So she's been with us all the way, marketing, helping us with our needs, putting the word out about things that could make the Glades district shine, and we salute Mary Lou Bedford for her outstanding work. And I'd like to say, too, that yesterday was a big day in the Glades. Our new recently appointed Glades Regional Superintendent, Miss Angela Moore, you're getting things done. We started yesterday at 8 o'clock at West Tech, getting things done for our schools, but we ended the day in Pahokee at the City Council meeting. Miss Angela Moore, the Glades Region Superintendent, had her leadership team, as well as her principals, as well as her support people, at the city council meeting, explaining to the council how we are one. We represent the community, and we're going to make sure that we keep you informed, as well as introducing all of the new leaders and the ones from the past. The commission was so excited about the meeting. We're hoping to do this quarterly. And we'll be on the road again, Ms. Moore, with you and your outstanding work in South Bay and Belglade on next week. Thank you.
Mr. Barbieri.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Mr. Superintendent, I would like to publicly thank your staff, Mrs. Paul, Mr. Dolan, Ms. Garrison, Mr. Lincoln, and their staff. I know that you all spent many, many hours working with the State Board of Education's representatives that came down here to help eliminate the overcrowding in the schools in my district and in the schools in Mrs. Brill's district. So, you know, I very much appreciate all the work. I understand you put in some 14-hour days to get the information ready for the State Board's representatives. So thank you for doing your best to try and help us eliminate the overcrowding in the South area. So thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
Dr. Robinson.
Thank you and good evening. So this evening's Black History Fact is on Maud Ford Lee. Maud Ford Lee is the mother of 2 daughters, grandmother of 6, great-grandmother of 4, and foster grandmother of 2. But she also goes down in history as the first African-American Palm Beach County Commissioner. She is a native of Tallahassee, and her early years were spent with her then-husband, Percy, who was in the military, so she traveled a lot from Hawaii to South Carolina and other places. She returned in '67 to Tallahassee to work at the FAMU Memorial Hospital, which I actually didn't know existed. But it then later merged into Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. She credits FAMU for giving her the inspiration to help others. Her special spark benefited Palm Beach County in many ways. Her professional career led her to be the leader of the Community Action Program as it expanded from a small private nonprofit to a county-wide public agency operating 9 neighborhood service centers. In '85, she was appointed as the Human Services Director, overseeing all of the anti-poverty programs of the Community Action Program, as well as other divisions within Palm Beach County. In 1990, the constituents that she had served with in different roles elected her to be the Palm Beach County Commissioner. She was reelected in 1992 and again in '96. She held this historic position and was the chairman of the board at one point in time. She represented the County Commission on Children's Services Council, and there she broke barriers to funding for African American nonprofits and service providers. Her passion and advocacy resulted in comprehensive services and programs benefiting minority children throughout Palm Beach County. Throughout her years of service, she contributed positively to all citizens of the county. She retired in 2000, leaving a legacy of making a difference in the lives of many and by providing opportunities and paths for a brighter future, just as she says FAMU had done for her. So she worked tirelessly as well for her alma mater, and she, in fact, raised many thousands of dollars in scholarships for FAMU students. She is a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority and is past president of NAACP West Palm Beach branch, and she is actually one of my mentors because she exemplifies excellence in civic, political, economic, and educational endeavors. And so I would hope that all of us, as well as the students of Palm Beach County Schools, know the history and legacy of Maud Ford Lee. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. The scrambling that went on during some of the presentations, sitting up here, you see what everybody in the audience is doing, and I noticed that over to the right, we had some people taking very, very good notes during the time that they've been here so far. So I wanted to give a recognition. We have a group of students here tonight from Palm Beach Atlantic University who are in Introduction to Teaching. And we want to welcome you. Thank you for being here, and we'll give you a test at the end of the meeting on all of the notes that you took tonight. So thank you for being here, and we hope you enjoyed the board meeting. So this time we have our presentation, so if the board will go down front, we have one presentation.
Student speaker, student board member.
He comes next after that. Okay, yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, superintendent and staff, and community members. As the chairman said, this evening we have just one presentation. This evening we're going to be recognizing Kristen Fraser, a physical education teacher at Krista McAuliffe Middle School in Boynton Beach. She was recently named the Florida Middle School Physical Education Teacher of the Year by the Society of Health and Physical Educators. The Teacher of the Year program recognizes outstanding teachers in physical education at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. Ms. Fraser has been with the school district since 2007, teaching physical education for the past 7 years. She believes that all teachers need to have a passion for their subject and the desire to help students learn skills they can use in their life. For her, that passion has always been sports and fitness. Being active since her childhood helped mold her into the person she is today. While growing up, she played all kinds of sports, and in doing so, she learned about teamwork and respect for herself and others. She developed confidence, learned to communicate with others, problem solve, and how to make healthy choices, all while having fun. Now, as an educator, she wants to empower her students with those same skills so they can grow up to become healthy and active adults. Ms. Fraser will receive her award next month at the Shape Florida Convention in Kissimmee. So congratulations to Kristen Fraser for her dedication to her school and students and for being named the Florida Middle School Physical Education Teacher of the Year. Let's give her a round of applause. And we just want to acknowledge the principal at Krista McAuliffe, Mr. Jeff Silverman. Thank you. Great job. Mr. Chairman, board members, superintendent and staff, and members of the community, this concludes the presentations for September. The Communications and Engagement Department invites you to visit the district website at www.palmbeachschools.org to learn about all the great things happening in our schools, departments, and communities. Make sure to follow us on social media, available in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole. And we also encourage you to download our mobile app in Google Play or from the App Store. Search for School District of Palm Beach County in either store. Thank you, everyone, for your attention this evening, and have a good night.
Our next report is from our student government representative, Nolan Ursoy. So Nolan, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Good afternoon, everyone. Since we were here last, the County Council has continued the planning of our first general session and meeting, which will take place on Thursday, September 27th. And this is where all student governments from the middle and high schools whom choose to participate come and take a day to develop their leadership skills, listen to guest speakers, and just further the bond between our student governments here in the county. Every meeting we have some sort of theme to go along with, and we have chosen celebrating cultural diversity for this one. We have Miss Lisa Almashi, who is the current cultural competency program planner here at the district, and she will be coming to be our keynote speaker. We also have other organizations coming and presenting to the students, such as United Way Volunteer Group and others, just to show our students the importance of giving back to the community. We also always do a community service project at these events, and for this up, we have asked the schools attending to bring gently used backpacks and other bags so we can make an assembly line with the other students to make care packages for our local homeless community. Other than that, I made sure the message was spread to the other student governments about the Overdose Awareness Day this past August 31st, so they could possibly put together any projects or events to recognize this. I know here, at least at Park Vista, we held some events to spread the awareness around the campus. And I would lastly like to congratulate my former teacher, Mrs. Fraser, on her award. I can confirm that she is, in fact, the best physical education teacher. She's my current little brother's teacher, and he loves her. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So each board meeting, we do recognize individuals who were employees of our district who passed away. And tonight, we'd like to recognize a former teacher from vocational business education teacher from Park Vista High School, Jeffrey Fossen, who was born in 1963 and passed away in July of 2018. So at this time, can we please take a moment of silence? Thank you very much. Our next topic are speakers, elected officials, and our committee reports. Audit Committee, just a written report, and Cork, written report also. No. Mr. Doctor.
Good evening. My name's Lou Doctor. I'm here representing your Construction Oversight and Review Committee called Cork. Chairman Shaw, board members, superintendent, we had a good meeting on September 6th, and I'm here to report the results of that meeting. In terms of your agenda items, facilities construction, FC1, is a contingency approval. We changed the policy to require the staff to report contingency expenses that they're authorized to spend, with the condition that they report those expenditures to Cork on a monthly basis so we can review what's going on. It's urgent they have the right and authority to do that because you don't want to hold up a construction job for a minor issue that may come up in the course of construction and have to take it to the board. In this project, this month they had 9 projects that totaled approximately $44,000. There was a $5,000 credit for work that they had bid that they didn't have to do. One of the comments we had was that they removed casework in a media center to revise the media center, and in doing that, they discovered that the carpeting had deteriorated beyond any reasonable condition, and therefore they made the decision to replace the carpet. Those kinds of contingencies things come up from time to time. They needed to call an electrician to replace lighting fixtures when they removed and replaced the ceiling. They couldn't just put the fixtures back in place. And in another case, they moved some portables and discovered that the plumbing for the bathrooms and the portables didn't match the plumbing that was on site. The plumbing for the portables was probably removed in order to move them to the new site, and they had to call in a plumber to redo the plumbing. So those are the kinds of things, and we review them on a monthly basis, and your staff does a good job in providing us the details. On FC2 was the construction of the Wellington cafeteria. As you all know, that those projects are continuing on a school-by-school basis. Under purchasing construction, there were 8 items that we reviewed. The first one was 3 pre-qualified vendors that were added to our qualified list. It's always nice to see that they're Palm Beach County or South Florida oriented. One was from Delray, one was West Palm, and one was from Miami. So they're added to our list of contractors. Items PC2 through PC7 were all pre-construction awards. They're following up on the designs that were authorized at the last meeting, so that we're able to marry the architect who's doing the design with the contractor that's going to be doing the work. They get familiar with each other, they work together, and it greatly expedites getting the job done in a reasonable time period. On the first one was PC2. Well, we did PC1, which is the qualified vendors. I mentioned that. PC2 is construction management services. We had some questions about the projects. One of the concerns was the fee structure that was set up for the vendors when they bid. And the vendor explains that when they bid it, they use the average of what they spent on other jobs and look at the reasonableness of it. One of the Cork members is a construction contractor, and he said he uses the exact same percentages when he bids, and he was pleased to see that what the purchasing department was doing was what was common in the industry, which gave us some nice confidence in what's happening behind the scenes. We also looked at how many vendors were bidding on these jobs. On PC2, 12 different vendors bid on the job, and they were ranked by your purchasing department, and the #1 vendor was given the job. On all 6 projects, there were different contractors picked for each project, so there's a lot of diversity in construction. Some of the contractors dropped out on other bidding when they had bidded and won a previous award. But the number of vendors that bid on these jobs were 15, 12, 13, 10, and 6. So we had a nice representation of the construction industry, and the work was fairly shared. We also asked how we're going to get the work done. Obviously, construction people have to work with staff so they don't interfere with school times and able to do the work either during the summer or vacations or how they arrange it. Some of these projects may take 2 years before they're completed, but we're well on our way to fixing some of the discrepancies that have accumulated over the last years for lack of funding. PC8 was the Solar Creek re-roofing job. The question that we asked your staff, and what conditions were they taking into account when they re-roofed it? And they had the correct answer. They're taking current code into consideration because the school was built before they had the codes that required added protection to withstand hurricane loads and hurricane winds, and that was built in as part of the contract to replace the school. So these were all approved either on consent or with the answers to the questions we had. We had a very good meeting. We enjoyed it. We had 7 Cork members there out of our contingency of 12. It's vacation time. And we had a good meeting. Thank you, Dr. Robertson. If I have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Doctor. I think it's important for us to let the public know that the Construction Oversight Committee has a really major function in monitoring all of our expenditures related to construction. Mr. Doctor and members of that committee give numerous hours reviewing every detail of all of the construction and building projects that we have. We also have advisory committees, our audit committee, our finance committee, the sales tax oversight and review committee. All of those are the way that this board has committed to the public that we're accountable for those dollars that were spent. So when these reports are given, they are very important reports. And Mr. Doctor, how long have you served on the Cork Committee?
I'm approaching 20 years, but
20 years.
There are 2 other Cork members who are in the same category as I am. We've had a very low turnover, so we have a lot of good experienced people. As you know, we're either architects, engineers, contractors. We have a variety of construction experience, and of course, we have to put up with a couple of lawyers also.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now move along to our speakers, delegations, and elected officials. We have 3, James Gavrilos from the Ed Foundation, Charmaine Postal from the PTA, and Justin Katz from CTA. So.
Good evening, Dr. Fenoy, Chairman Shaw, board members, and staff. I am here tonight to speak on behalf of PTA in our county. Once again, I'm excited to have the pleasure in updating you on what our parents, teachers, and students collectively have accomplished. PTA throughout our county have had their first general meeting, many topics ranging from safety, mental health, college readiness, just to name a few. The county meeting was August 20th with nearly 100 attendees who received greetings by Mayor Scott Singer in Boca Raton, legislative updates, referendum updates, and training. Even our SGA president, Nolan Orsroy, attended and said a few words, so we thank you for attending, Nolan. As we celebrate our PTA members this month, it would be remiss if I didn't recognize our amazing county board members, officers at respective local units, community leaders, and members. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to our children, our communities, and Palm Beach County. And just a quick note that Mayor Scott Singer, he actually made the pledge and put his money where his mouth was and joined the PTA in every school in in Boca Raton, Florida, in his county. So that was quite exciting to see. As parent of 2 children at J.C. Mitchell Elementary School, under the leadership of Joan Pierre Jerome, great job. I would love to personally recognize the amazing work they have done. I have observed all of the safety, the security, the students, the staff. We've just been raving praises. I'm not the president there anymore, but everyone still have my number, so my phone, when there's trouble, they call, and when there's praises, they call as well. So, Mr. Barbieri, you would be excited to know that they're doing well at that school, and Boca PD has been phenomenal. Lastly, I would like to share our last item for all of our constituents, advocates, and staff here today. I'm going to read something that has been sent to the editors. It's called Keep Kids Safe and Save Teacher Jobs. Violence can erupt anywhere at any time. The most recent gun violence incident at Palm Beach Central High football game is evidence of that. As concerned parents, we should want the Palm Beach County School District to be well prepared, well equipped, well organized, and well trained to handle these events. Our school district needs funds to keep our children safe. We need to be willing to put our money where our mouth is. If we demand increased protection for our children, then we should be willing to pay more money in taxes so the district can meet those demands. Increasing the mileage rate will fund extra security, provide much-needed mental health services at area schools, and would raise salaries for veteran teachers. Let's keep more than 650 dedicated and hardworking teachers in our classrooms. November 6th, you will find education as one of the last items on the ballot. We will vote yes and put education first in Palm Beach County. It's a no-brainer. I'm for the referendum, and all of our Caring Committee members should be too. For more information about Palm Beach County PTA, visit us at www.palmbeachcountypta.org and on social media everywhere at Palm Beach County PTA. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you. Mr. Kafalis.
Good evening, Dr. Fenoy, members of the school board. A quick update. I'll bring you up to speed on 2/3 of the work of the Education Foundation, the 1/3 being the major grants, which we apply for. We're waiting to hear from our statewide consortium. So at the October meeting, I will hopefully be able to tell you that all $240,000 worth of grants have been approved, but we'll save that for 30 days. Red Apple Supply Store kicked off the year just 5 weeks ago, and I can happily report that in just 5 weeks, 96 teachers have come to shop and have received $46,000 worth of school supplies absolutely free of charge, thanks to the good business partners that we have throughout the county who had supply drives throughout the year, including many of you sitting up on the dais who, through your own personal work and your professional colleagues, did supply drives. So again, in just 4.5 weeks, 46,800 and change in school supplies have already gone out the door. A second project that we do on the grant-making side is our Go Teach grants. You have all now received invitations, and we hope you'll be present with us on Thursday night, September 27th at Kaiser University, where we will be awarding 59 of our heroic teachers in Palm Beach County Go Teach grants. These are grants of less than $1,500 to try a creative, innovative idea which will reach children, elevate them out of poverty, and really set them on the path to graduation and success in future life. 59 Go Teach grants totaling about $65,000 will be awarded that night. It's part of the work of the Education Foundation to support our amazing teachers and to make sure that the best, the brightest, the most creative and innovative have the resources they need. Dr. Fenoy, members of the school board, we thank you for your continued confidence and trust in the Education Foundation. Onward and upward. We are your Education Foundation, serving the needs of the schools, teachers, and students in the finest school district in the state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Katz.
Thank you. My name is Justin Katz. I'm the current president of the Palm Beach County Classroom Teachers Association. I'd like to piggyback on what my associate here from the PTA just stated and say that I've been going throughout the county, both in my capacity as the Teachers Union president and as an elected official in the city of Boynton Beach, and speaking to various groups, whether it's homeowners associations, trades groups, business groups, and I wanted to kind of report back some of my reflections and give some information with regards to those interactions. First and foremost, I do think that there's broad-based support for what this referendum stands for. In speaking to these diverse groups that I'm afforded through my 2 positions, it's clear that nobody denies that we want to keep art, music, PE, and these technical academies in our schools. These are programs that the parents and our residents have demanded for decades, and we've filled our schools flush with these programs so that no matter where you are in the district, these opportunities are afforded. Through this referendum, 650 plus positions in those types of classes will be maintained. Nobody denies that the violence that we see needs to be attacked or tackled with a multiple-pronged approach. We can't just have additional police officers in schools that is great and it's necessary, but it's just reactionary. We don't want to just stop school shooters who come to school. We want to stop people from becoming school shooters, and that's what the mental health professional component of this referendum would enable us to do. Last but not least would be the need to maintain the highest quality product we can for our students, for our customers, and to have a revolving door of educators, as we've seen over the years in the wake of the recession and the decreased funding from the state. It's just the two most important sacred things that you as a school board in this district need to do is keep kids safe and employees and provide the best product. And what this referendum does is ensures that those two charges are met and increased for our students. In going around, obviously, there are going to be critics and dissenters who say that, you know, another tax is too burdensome, and to that argument, to that when is enough argument, I think that I would counter with respect every time we turn on the news and see another school shooting. When is enough? Any time that we see a student who engages in these activities and it becomes clear that if we had had the additional personnel to review some of their activities that led up to this, some of the things they said, some of the things they did, if we had dedicated, trained mental health professionals, we would be able to prevent some of these incidents. So when is enough with regards to students slipping through the cracks? We could have prevented these tragedies. With regards, again, to the teachers, every single year we in this district hire 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 new teachers. The turnover is untenable. As I've said before, to my friends who I work with in the business community through my other position in the city, if you ran a business and people fled your business in droves, your employees quit year after year, and you had nothing but new employees, you were spending money training them, when is enough with regards to the revolving door of employees for an organization? I think that it's important that with respect to when is enough with taxes, we ask those other questions. Surely if we can pose that question with regards to taxes, we can pose that question with regards to safety and the quality of education. So I think that it's imperative that the district continue to do what they're doing, educate the population, and make sure that people fully understand that we are trying to make kids safer and we are trying to provide a better product. That is it, and that is where 100% of these funds will be earmarked for. So I applaud the district's efforts, and I will continue to do everything in my power in my different capacities to continue to promote and advocate for safer schools and for a higher quality education for our teachers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That concludes our speakers. We now move to the consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull any other item? Mrs. Whitfield?
May I pull SSEA 8, please?
SSEA 8.
Yes,
Any
please.
others?
And
Mrs. Brill?
I'd like to pull, I think it's FC2. Let me just see.
FC2?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Yeah, Wellington.
FC2?
It's the Wellington
and
Community.
Wellington Community High School Cafeteria Project, and SSEA 8, the renewal of the agreement with Palm Beach State College. Any others? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, second by Mrs. Andrews. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed. So we have if everybody will refresh your computers, it should reflect those changes of those items being pulled. If everybody's had a chance, we'll move to new business. The first item is BRD1. The board should be receiving the Inspector General's evaluation. And since this is a board item, I would like to recommend the board approve and accept the Inspector General's evaluation as submitted. Motion by Mr. Barbieri, second by Mrs. McQuinn. Any discussion? So we want to thank Mr. Chu for his work, and if there's no discussion, we will call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is COM 3, proclamation. Dr. Fenoy.
Yes, I recommend the board proclaim September the 15th through October the 15th, 2018 as Hispanic Heritage Month.
Is there a motion? Motion by Mrs. Andrews, second by Mrs. Brill. Discussion. Seeing none, we will call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Our next item is, get back down to this one. FC2, Dr. Fenoy.
Yes, sir. FC2, Wellington Community High School Cafeteria Renovation Project. I recommend the board approve the Wellington Community High School Cafeteria Renovation Project in an amount not to exceed $800,000 and authorize the chairman and superintendent to finalize and execute all related contract documents.
Motion by Mrs. Andrews, second by Mrs. Whitfield. Mrs. Brill, you pulled that one.
Thank you. And the reason I pulled this, first of all, I know that these cafeterias do impact the flow of lunches and that they're costly when we implement them. But for those who have been to the renovated cafeterias, what they are is actual food stations where children have choices for different ethnic and healthy types of food, sort of in a food court setting. And what it does for the self-esteem of the students in the school is amazing. I went when they first opened up Atlantic High School. I think that was the first one that we did. But I went there and had an opportunity to eat the food, to mingle with the students later on, and it's just such a wonderful thing. I know that principals have to agree and request it, but I would just like to make a comment that I really think it would be nice to get one out in the Glades or Pahokee High School, Glades Central or Pahokee High School, in that area, if we're able to. And eventually I'd like a goal that all of our schools go through this reconfiguring, because it really is amazing to see how the children feel about it. It's just a fabulous experience for them. So of course I'm supporting this, but I'd like to see us do more quick and as fast as possible.
Right. Mrs. Whitfield and then Mrs. Andrews.
I would be remiss if I didn't jump on this because this is an exciting thing. One thing I want to bring up with this, and actually it made the paper, which is kind of an interesting thing to make the paper, but I made the paper like a month ago, I think, where they were a discussion between our school food service manager and then an interview with Karen Wetzel, our Suncoast principal. And the thing that I think is really interesting in there was kind of the decision point on how to do lunches on the amount of time it takes. So if you want to participate in this, one of the things that Ms. Monblo asks us to do is to have multiple lunches, and her reasoning behind that is because more kids can get through the line, therefore it makes the investment make sense, because more children will be eating our school lunches. So for the principals out there that may be listening, I know you're out there, if you're interested in this, keep in mind that you have to have multiple lunch periods, so this affects your schedule, so you have to plan ahead and think about this if this is something you want. I highly recommend it as well as Ms. Brill. I think this is a wonderful thing. It really does make your cafeterias user-friendly, and it really speaks to the thing that I care the most about, which is feeding children and how quickly we can get children through a line and get them to eat a healthy meal. And I don't want them just to eat a snack because they don't have time to go through the line. So to me, this is a very important issue, and this is why we are such an amazing school food service department, because we take on projects like this. So thank you.
Mrs. Andrews.
Yes, and I'd like to concur with Mrs. Brill, and I would like to say that I've spoken to the principals in the Glades region, and they've already put their requests in to school food service. And I have had the opportunity to be there for the dedication, especially for the last one at Palm Beach Central. And I'm telling you, it really makes a difference for our children. I was over at Palm Beach Central right after we had the incident in the morning, and I saw the breakfast lines. It was packed in the cafeteria. Everybody was in there eating breakfast because it was such a wonderful atmosphere. I could see that from just roaming around and looking. And the children beelined for the cafeteria. They loved the breakfast as well as the lunches. And the variety is outstanding. Keep up the good work, School Food Service. Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is FMPF 1.
FMPF 1, Monthly Purchasing and Disbursement Report. I recommend the board receive and accept the monthly contract and disbursement report as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Brill, second by Mrs. Andrews. Dr. Robinson.
Yes, so I'm voting against it because it's not good enough in terms of keeping the promises that we've made to share the wealth, if you will. I would hope that we will take a look at what additional supports we might need both in of our Office of Diversity and Business Practices and possibly in purchasing to see if we can do a better job. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. 6-1, sorry, but Dr. Robinson voting against. Next item is FP2, and this one has a good cause statement. This has allowed the people impacted by this agenda item to start their positions as soon as possible. Dr. Fenoy.
P2 Personnel Addendum. I recommend the board approve the personnel addendum as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Andrews, second by Dr. Robinson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed, motion carries 7-0. Next item is SSEA 8.
SSEA 8, Renewal Cooperative Agreement with the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office for Educational Services. I recommend the board approve the Renewal Cooperative Agreement with the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office to provide educational services at West and East Detention Facility from September 13th, 2018 through June 30th, 2019.
Motion by Mrs. Brill, second by Mrs. Whitfield. I'm not sure, I think, who pulled that one?
It was me.
Mrs. Whitfield.
So the concern that I had on this one was just around the data panel that we had. If you look at this item, there was only one student that actually participated in the last 2 years, and so I was concerned that if we had an agreement that is valid and useful with the Sheriff's Department, that it is not being implemented more. So I've been in a little bit of discussions with Mr. Oswald on the phone here, but please feel free to jump in and tell everyone what you've been telling me.
Yeah, Dr. Licata will take this. If I may,
Please.
The board. This is an agreement that worked out of a lawsuit from a couple years ago because we had students that were in our schools that were arrested and sent to the facility. And in order for us to reach out for and continue their educational services, if they're 18 to 20 or if they are charged as an adult, we have to continue their education. So this agreement is like the other agreements from a couple months ago where we do have access. We still do the teaching, but since they're being charged as an adult, or they are over the age of 18, we have to have this agreement with the Sheriff's Office in order to continue our services. And this is for the West facility out in Belglade.
So with this this agreement, we are actually providing the services, and
Yes.
they are just providing the space and the access to the children.
It's the access piece by law. They have to give us access to the students since they're being charged as an adult.
So the reason that only one student has participated in the last 2 years is there just wasn't enough of them?
We've only had one student be charged as an adult.
How do you...
In that area.
So I think, I mean, it's great. I don't want children to go to jail or to have these issues. I think the biggest concern that I have is that if it's valid, I would love to see that every student has the opportunity. I just feel like maybe there's only one student in this case that has been charged.
There's only one student that qualified under this agreement. All of the other ones qualified as regular K-12 students that were not considered adults or charged as adults. So it's actually, in essence, a really good thing that only one of our students has been charged as an adult over those 2 years.
Well, I'm definitely going to vote for it. I just would want to make sure that we are covering as many students as we can, and I think some of the concerns that I have are really more about the education that is occurring with our students that have been charged. I know that we have children that are charged that are more than just one in 2 years. So I think that's more of my worries about that. So I understand where you guys are coming from now, so thank you. But I think that's where I worry the most, is just that we're providing the appropriate education for students that are in jail, because hopefully they won't be there for very long.
No.
We'll get them back out. Thank you.
Any other comments? Dr. Robinson?
Thank you. Since we have some new leadership and new opportunities, I would request that we look at scheduling a workshop on alternative ed so the board in its entirety can see the complexity and also the opportunities. So I would just make that request to the superintendent. Thank you.
Okay. Dr.
Yes, that's not a problem.
Okay. Mrs. Andrews.
And I want to say this is a good thing at the West facility, and I do encourage our board to go and see these facilities, to go to see the educational instruction that's being given to our schools, to the east as well as to the west. It really enlightens you and know that we have to take care of our children. So this is a good thing, and I'm happy it was only one. We're looking for 0.
Right. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is SSEA 9.
SSEA 9, Florida Educational Equity Act Implementation Plan Annual Update for 17-18. I recommend the board approve the district's Florida Educational Equity Act 2017-2018 Annual Update for submission to the Florida Department of Education.
Is there a motion? Motion by Mrs. Andrews, second by Dr. Robinson. There's a good cause statement on this one. This provides the assurance that the district will meet the requirements of submitting this report in a timely manner to the Florida Department of Education, and this was the item that we workshopped last meeting. So any discussion? Dr. Robinson.
So sorry I missed the last meeting. I could have gone into depth on this, but my only request is that as a follow-up, if you haven't, I haven't seen it. Can we get the numbers of students who were deemed AP potential and what percentage and numbers of them were enrolled this school year in AP classes? So can we track that over time so we can monitor and make sure we're improving?
Right. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That concludes our agenda, so we'll move along to
Mr. Shaw.
Mr. Barbieri.
Yeah, before we move to non-agenda speakers, Ms. Shaw, I'd just like to make sure the public knows we did approve the Inspector General's rating, but we didn't mention that he was rated highly effective by the school board. So congratulations, Mr. Chu, for a job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Barbieri. We have our non-agenda speakers. I'll call 3 at a time. Carl Mohammed, Jill Testa, Melissa Barton. Mr. Mohammed.
Once again, good evening, team players. And I'm here again to ask you to some kind of way give us in the African way, in the non-immigrant black community, the idea of how you are complying to Florida Statute 1003.42. Now, when this law was passed some 27 years ago, we in the African American community looked at this to be one of the pivotal points for us for school safety and school mental health. And I know that many people haven't explored that particular Florida statute, and many people that look at that statute, they look at it like they look at the word equity, and they don't really understand what it's all about. I'm hoping that those of you who are board members would actually look at that Florida law and really dissect it so that you can possibly help us in an equitable way, because the needs of our community is somewhat different than others, based upon the information that has already been rendered to our community and the problems that it has created for us. We understand that more knowledge is needed, and to those who haven't had the opportunity or the luxury to embrace this kind of wisdom, I'm hoping that you would find some kind of way to get a little bit more courage in order that we might have a serious conversation about your non-immigrant blacks in the public as opposed to in the private. Now, I talked to Mr. Oswald a little bit earlier, and he gave me the impression that there were some improvements that had been made, but I would like to know how it's really impacting the lives of our children that are in your school system. For you to just to tell us that and then don't show us that, that's a big problem for us. And we do need some first responders from you guys in a way that our community can understand what is actually going on. And lastly, that problem of the Florida statute is a big problem because I know it makes a paradigm shift in the world of academia, but it's one that we as a community are going to have to embrace. And I wanted to, before I get out here, I wanted to welcome you back, Dr. Robinson, as a result of you being elected as our District 7 school board person. And I know that I had an opportunity to travel around a little bit with that activity. I'm hoping that now you're settling in and you can come back, and the rest of you, of our team players, we're back together again. I'm hoping that we can move forward. You know, we got some great expectations, and I'm hoping that we will take advantage of them. Thank you, Ms. Andrews, and thank you, Ms. Brill, for the efforts that I had the conversation with you and the one that you helped to provide with Dr. Fenoy. And thank you, Dr. Fenoy, for the conversation. I just hope we can get a little bit stronger as it relates to the problems that are plaguing the worst part of your system. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Mrs. Testa.
Yes, ready for me? Yes, good evening, members of the board, and of course, nice to see some new faces. Ms. Whitfield and Ms. Andrews, it's nice to see you again, and Mr. Fenoy, definitely looking forward to working with you. So, my son, on February 8th, 2016, was assaulted by a substitute teacher that was a regular at Waters Edge Elementary School. I found out about the abuse from my son at the age of 8. Not from the school, even though the principal was well aware of what happened. In fact, she interviewed my son with his assaulter after it occurred, without my permission, and sent him back to class with her for 3 more hours. We have many witnesses that this assault occurred. That's not the question, actually. That's not why I'm here. We have witnesses that are 10 years old. We have witnesses that are your own cafeteria aides that reported this to the principal. There's no incident report to this day. There was no phone call to me, Ms. Whitfield. No phone call to me. At all. There was no phone call, Ms. Andrews, to DCF.
Please address only the board as a whole.
The board, excuse me.
Thank you.
To the board. There was no phone calls to myself, DCF, the police. I believe all the people that are in your policy and procedure to call when an assault occurs in a school. None of that happened. So I did receive a letter from the principal. I did not get a call, but I received a letter after my son told me what happened. And it said, "Hello, today Drew reported an incident with the sub to the cafe aide. It was then reported to me and I spoke with them to secure that they were safe. I wanted to reach out, but I was involved with a serious situation, so I couldn't. It must have been very serious if it was more serious than assault. The abuse was so hidden that I had to picket and embarrass myself inviting police to get the substitute fired, which finally, after a month, she was. Since the school and school board did not want to admit to being at fault at all and handled it so poorly, they decided to hide it. So in fact, the principal is now an active principal in a better school, Calusa Elementary, where she's active, as a hush method, in hope other parents wouldn't know the danger that's in charge of their children. But they do know. They're behind me. And they want to know why she's there. Why is it?"
Thank you very much. Mrs. Barton?
Hi, good evening, board members. How are you? It's lovely to see all of your faces in this wonderful community. I have long believed that Palm Beach County schools were some of the best schools in our state and maybe even in our country. But I'm here tonight for one reason. And if you know who I am, you know why I'm here. When a child with a special need is abused in a school, you will see my face. Let's start this year off better than last year. and the years before. There are things we can do. Isn't it less expensive to hire appropriate personnel, to train appropriate personnel, than to fight federal lawsuits? Isn't it common sense? I would think so. And what I've heard tonight are some really good action steps toward preventing violence in school, which we all know is desperately needed. But it's often looked at from the perspective of a student committing violence toward other students and the teachers at the school. Unfortunately, that's not always the truth. What is more important is when an adult attacks a child. Why is that not on television every night? It should be. And I promise you, should it occur in your district this year, and I find out about it, it will be. That's all.
Preston Vickers, Olin Walker, Lynn Hughes. Yeah, okay. Lou Baer, Rosa Harrell, Naomi Marino. Mr. Baer.
Good evening, and I want to say hi to everybody. I'm here for 3 different issues. One, to tell you how wonderful we have a brand new band director at Seminole Ridge High School. Fantastic job. And so my congratulations to everyone involved in hiring him. He's a young guy, and he's done a fabulous job so far this year. Last year, I was in front of the board, and I asked about low income, how to assist low-income people so that their kids can participate in the band, because band costs anywhere from $1,500, depending on what school, per kid, up to $3,500. I was told that somebody would call me during the summer and assist me. I've received no phone call. It is very important. The band has done wonders for my son. He's a straight A student in AP classes. He plans to attend MIT. And he's come out of his shell from family issues that occurred over 4 years ago. Now, what I'd like to discuss is Dr. Fenoy's refusal to speak with parents. I believe parents or the children call and want to speak with the superintendent and are constantly being shoved aside. That is not where my tax dollars should be going. He's an employee of all the parents, and if he does that to the parents, he's doing it to the children, and he must be doing it to the teachers. And I'd like that to be firmly addressed. I've called his office and have repeatedly been given other people, though I'm saying all I want to speak to is the doctor. You know, with the issue that occurred a few weeks ago and the comment he made, which was it wasn't a school issue, and now we turned out to find out it's not actually a school issue, but it was on school property. It should be addressed by parents. It's our children attending these schools. It's us parents going to these events. And Dr. Fenoy, I hope I pronounced that correctly, just refuses to talk to parents. I've called 4 different times, 2 of the very minor issues, and they transferred me away. 2, I had to get to the point of demanding to speak to him, and I was refused. And the other thing is we have police at the schools, and I really appreciate that. You guys have done a wonderful job with that. It just seems that some of the police are more intent to talk to our directors of traffic than watch the children go into the schools. And I don't consider that very healthy for the students. They should be at the door. I'm not a police officer, but talking to the guy guiding the traffic is not watching the students go into the school, and I'd just like to bring that to everybody's attention. So you all have a good night.
Thank you. Mrs. Tarrant.
Yes, good evening. My name is Noemi Moreno, and I currently am an ambassador for Safe Kids, Inc., representing the HERO program for the state of Florida. Thank you, Dr. Fenoy and Board Chairman Shaw and board members for allowing me to have this privilege of speaking on behalf of our students, parents, and the HERO program. So how safe do we all feel right now sitting here? If the fire alarm were to go off, would we know what to do? Of course we would. We learned it in school year after year with practicing fire drills. But if a violent intruder came into this room to harm us, would we know what to do? Because we have never learned this in school, many of us may not know what to do or may end up doing the wrong thing. School violence, as we know, is a multifaceted problem and can only be remedied with a multifaceted solution. School safety is built upon 3 pillars: the physical security measures, violence mitigation skill sets, social and emotional measures. There is a gap within these 3 pillars, and HERO fills in the gaps within the 3 pillars. HERO was created as a result of 2 police officers conducting a gap analysis, and it was thoroughly built upon a group of stakeholders that included psychologists, special education teachers, lawyers, and law enforcement. How do we create a generation of safe thinkers? By implementing the HERO to empower them with non-threatening, age-appropriate strategies, face-to-face survival skills, and safe thinking strategies taught simultaneously based on a scenario. Think back to the fire drill scenarios. Every student knows what to do, not just the teachers or the safety officers. By following the HERO program, every student will understand the alert and how to respond to it. During a gang shooting at Cathedral City in California, students were forced to initiate the HERO response. One of the students was a volume-challenged girl with autism. This girl was normally very rambunctious, and as the incident unfolded, the girl hid under a sink in a cabinet and remained quiet for 45 minutes. She was so quiet, her teacher couldn't find her at the conclusion of the incident. When asked how she stayed so quiet, she said she identified with one of the characters in the HERO read-aloud narrative and used her HERO powers to stay quiet. This is the only program that is research and evidence-based, that reduces fear in students, and that has one of the only student accessibility guides in how to teach students with special needs, including autism, on these skills. Budgets are important to everyone, but you can't put a price on the life of a child. Alternatives such as grants and state funding are available to assist in paying for this program. Let's make sure every child in the school district is safe because they know what to do and know how to come out alive. So I look forward to the opportunity to connect with you and our founders to discuss ways to implement the HERO curriculum for benefit of our children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Ann Burke, Walleen Henderson, Allison Rampersad. Paul Spain, Ruth Beck, Victoria Thiel. Mrs. Burke.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I have a few things that I do have in mind that I would like to share with the board and everyone in the room today. First, I'll start off with the fact that parents aren't allowed to volunteer in their children's classroom anymore. Now, I've been a parent for over 20 years, and in the past, I have volunteered in my child's classroom. I've been very active in book sales and things of that nature. I just feel as if something is being taken away from us parents. Instead, we're told, well, you can volunteer in another classroom, which normally when a parent is in the classroom with their own child, it does something for that child. It opens up a window of opportunity where they feel comfortable and they can connect a little bit better. And this I am speaking of experience with. So I'd like that to be reconsidered. And I was told that's actually a district policy, that you cannot volunteer in your child's classroom. So I'm, a little upset about that. Now, school being in lockdown mode all the time,
Why? Why would a school need to be in lockdown all the time? Schools have a window in the door, just like colleges and everywhere else. The colleges do have a lockdown policy. They have a sheet that when school is in lockdown, they will put it over the window. Instead, elementary schools are currently in active lockdown status. We're not allowed to walk our kids back to the classroom. We're not allowed to go to the classroom. And I just feel as if, again, something is being taken from us and we're being held hostage. We're being treated like we're the ones that actually commit school shootings, and that is not the case. Another issue is, why aren't nurses exempt from the volunteer sign-up? I was at the school yesterday for a sign-up. Paramedics, firefighters, police officers, and a list of other people, even people that work at the tax collector's office, they have a right to be exempt from your information going public. I also would like that opportunity. I am a nurse, and in hospitals these days, nurses don't use their full name on their badges anymore. That's a hospital rule because they've been stalked. Now, as far as increasing the property taxes for a teacher's pay, I'm against that because I think we do have enough money within the county to facilitate that action. Why was school closed on August 28 for a minor voting? I really don't know, but I don't think that's a good way. Children are already in school 180 days per year. Please, let's not make it less than that. That's only 6 months per year. We need our children to excel. And in order to excel, they need to be in school a few more days per year. Last year, we started 1 week for Thanksgiving, and this year we've added that, plus we've minused 1 day from schools. So I'd like that also to be reversed.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Henderson? No, Mrs. Rampersad.
Dr. Allison Rampersad, Palm Beach County educator and business owner. Good evening, board members. In our classrooms, our children are being taught that America is a bad country, and they're being groomed to be good global citizens. They can't be good citizens of anywhere until they become first good Americans. In the classroom, civics and American history are being glossed over and in some cases barely mentioned. I've been told we don't have time to cover it all. But that's why we send our children to school, and you want more money. In our classrooms, our children are being taught that communism is a better economic system than capitalism. Does any one of you sitting up there believe that? Students are not being shown the differences between communist and capitalist societies. Do you think that you would be able to hold the position on this board with a nice salary and still have the flexibility to be a business owner or engage in your extracurriculars if we lived under communism and you want more money? In our classrooms, our children are no longer taught classical literature, which instills values, morals, and a sense of self. Instead, they're often introduced to sex-inappropriate, religion-inappropriate, or age-inappropriate material that strips them of values and morals and promotes confusion. And you want more money. Teachers are expected to turn out A and B students, but their creativity and innovation is stifled and their pay is insufficient. We gave you money and you increased administrative salaries, and now you want more money. Some parents have been disenfranchised when it comes to finding out what their children are learning in the classroom. Other parents have been told not to help their children with homework because they would interfere with what their children are learning in school. Parents are the first ones their children go to for help. By the way, who do you think is picking up the tab for this so-called education? And you want more money. Our schools are graded on a curve that lets the system declare 56% of all Florida schools as A and B schools. But literally 50% or more of our students cannot read or do math at grade level. That's deceptive grading, and you want more money. The Florida Department of Education claims that we have a graduation rate of 82.3%. But too many of the children we are graduating do not have basic reading and math skills, and you want more money. Between now and November, you're planning to spend how much taxpayer money on media ads to convince voters they should give you more money, and you want more money? Our children deserve a quality education. They're not getting it. We can talk money. What can we improve with the money we have? How about this board coming up with some suggestions? Many of us would be willing to help. Thank you.
Ma'am, can you give us your name, please?
Dr. Allison Rampersad.
And the next person.
Victoria Teal. Good evening.
Okay,
Good
thank
evening,
you.
ladies and gentlemen. I'm inclined to say what she said, but I just want to say that I'm disappointed that the tax ballot reflects your wishes to increase the amount of money after you heard all the people and how many difficulties it will cause the residents. Last time I expressed my concern over your failure to explain what you had done with the last raise, with the substantial amount of federal money that you got, and the 17% sales tax last year. Still no explanation, no results for the money. Teachers have not gotten the raise. Amongst you, you're getting over $2 million in salaries, and you're still asking for more money. This time, I want to express my outrage that you put this on the ballot and you're demanding another raise from seniors on fixed income, on individuals who subsist on 1/10 of your salary. We can't afford it, and this is not monopoly money. I was going to add that last time I was here, one of the board members who doesn't seem to be present at time was saying a lot of disparaging things and anti-American remarks, but since she's there, I decided to skip it. It also falls in line with your objective to indoctrinate rather than educate our children. Your opinion has no place in this forum or the classroom. We should be teaching math, English, literature, and such, not idiotic, politically correct nonsense and sex education that should stay in the home or religious practices, especially only one religion. If you're going to cover religion, it should be everything, but I think that should be decided by the parents. I'm not satisfied with the job you're doing. Fudging figures and teaching nonsensical subjects doesn't make for an improved education for our children. You're substituting subjects which belong home and have no place in the school. I demand that you provide a curriculum that is valuable studies, such as what I just mentioned, instead of the politically correct nonsense, as well as live within your means. Stop looking upon taxpayers as an open ATM. No more tax hikes, better education, no excuses for bad or disruptive students. Stop asking us to pay for illegal children in our classrooms. Be generous with your money, not drive us into poverty or make us move out of this county. We need a moratorium on tax increases. It's criminal to ask seniors to pay school tax in the first place, let alone for sanctuary policies which flood our schools with illegal immigrant children to support. I'm angry at this point. You're not doing your job, and I will work to advise people of the tax you intend to burden us with and to remove people who support sanctuary cities.
Thank you very much. Paul Spain, Ruth Beck, Jane Justice. Mr. Spain.
Beauty before age. What you like?
Ms.
Okay.
Justice.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to know, first, I'd like people to consider, I wish I could respond to all the comments we're hearing. My goodness, there's so much to say in 3 minutes. But I wish everybody to consider for a moment, just a moment, how we started educating people in this country in a one-room schoolhouse with a chalkboard and a history book and without a school board and the fine education our forefathers received. I wish we'd consider that. When you say you need more money for teachers, whom I believe deserve it, they do. They're on the front line. Why didn't you do that before? You kept giving yourself raises. You kept spending money. You never did that. Truthfully, I'm going to say very truthfully and listen carefully, that is not the reason why you are asking for more money. The reason why you're asking for more money is there is massive illegal immigrants from open borders going on in this country. 10% of the students in this school district, Palm Beach County, are illegals. And you are spending over $2,000 per student per year to teach English to them, illegals. And we're spending in this state, or it might even be in this county, now I'm forgetting, it's $2.9 billion annually on illegal education alone. And honestly, if you care about the children like you say you do, you need to start telling them the truth. Open borders, socialist country, you have been pushing on them and us, and these kids are coming out of school completely brainwashed about it. School money is coming from the federal government, the state government, and the local government, okay? And so you are actively bankrupting our country. That's what you're doing. And now, I've heard comments here from somebody at the school board, and you know who it is, about the open borders and the poor children that are separated from their parents. And I'm going to tell you something. The good men that laid their lives down for this country, and men and women, they are separated from their children indefinitely. And if we don't have a country, we are bound to bankrupt this whole experiment that was so deeply paid for by our forefathers. I tell you, you are not telling the children the truth, that they will go hungry, you will go hungry, we will all go hungry because we are out of money, and you know it. So, are you also telling, you're failing to tell the children and warn them that an open border, there are Islamic terrorists coming across that border down there in Mexico. It's not just Mexicans. They're coming from Pakistan. They're coming from every country, and they mean harm to us. And so yesterday, as we celebrated 9/11, how can you promote open borders? How can you? Now.
Thank you very much. Mr. Spain.
So sorry I couldn't finish.
Thank you. As a former candidate for Congress in Palm Beach and Broward County, a member of 2 labor unions, a financial advisor for over 20 years, a 10-year resident of Palm Beach County, and someone who has worked with state and local governments for over 40 years, and as a parent whose child attended elementary and high school in Palm Beach County, I just have a question for the entire school board and the administration. To borrow a phrase from another fellow that came before me, that preceded me, when is enough enough? How large is government going to grow in Palm Beach County before it explodes and starts running the people out of the county that we depend upon for our tax revenues? Real estate valuations are at record levels. Tax collections are at record levels. Why do we need more money? I heard another gentleman say for school security. Well, in Broward County at Stoneman High School, they didn't spend the money on school security. The guard ran away when he was threatened. That's not what I call appropriate use of money for school security. When I moved to Palm Beach County in 2004, there were 9 or 10 taxing districts. Now there are 18 taxing districts. School taxes were to be paid by, many of you remember this, the lottery. Then that wasn't enough. They spent all the money from the lottery. So last year, just last year, a 1% sales tax was added, supposedly for schools. And then we all sat back and watched the politicians fight and beg and squander all the money from that to see who could get the most money out of the 1% sales tax revenue. And yet, as another person said, we're here asking for more money for schools. And then again, less than 1 year later, the school board is back with huge administrative salaries saying we need more money for schools. It just has to stop. And I would ask you to, before you ask anyone else for another raise in taxes, I would ask for you to each look up a common business term. It's called zero-based budgeting. You don't start with what you spent last year and try to increase it. You look at what you've already spent. I would ask that you be diligent in educating the children of tax-paying citizens instead of focusing on illegal alien children. I would ask you to obey the rule of law and stop promoting the cities and counties and county of Palm Beach as sanctuary or welcoming cities or whatever you want to call them now. Okay? The whole point is you're flooding our schools with illegal alien children and driving up the cost of taxpayers in this county. The people of Palm Beach demand that you live within a budget or respectfully look for another job. The people of this county want our politicians to be accountable and responsible, and that's all I ask for each of you, to be accountable and responsible, and remember who you work for. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sue Trombino, Shannon Otts. Ms. Trombino.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank all of you for allowing me to speak. I thank you for the service that you all have here. But I came to speak for actually one reason. But as I sat there and I heard what was being said, I figured I might as well, as a tax-paying American citizen who came here legally from Caracas, Venezuela, I thought that I would decide to say some of the things and just take a few moments to comment on things that were said here tonight. Well, I'm an American. I'm not a Hispanic American. We're all American. I think we need to stop dividing this country. The reason we're in disarray is we have taken prayer and Bible out of the schools and have forgotten what America truly was founded on. If you want unity, and I believe you said that, we need to teach true American history from the beginning and start teaching truth and facts, not emotion, conjecture, or your opinion. Third, the reason that I actually came for today is the issue of wanting to raise taxes. To whom much is given, much is required. And when you have been given little, and you do well with little, then you will be given much. Well, with all due respect, you haven't done well with our money, a lot of money, by the way. And so until you have done well with our money, yes, it's our money, then I don't want you raising my taxes. Now, but I realize that the reason is it's because it's not your money. It's a third-party transaction. It's not your money. It's our money. At the end of the day, you all will still get paid. But you know who suffers is we, the people. We, the kids, and the people that take the kids to school, and that's the parents. So again, when you do well with the money that you have, then I would be happy to maybe raise my taxes. Have you raised my taxes? But maybe we should know why quite a few in non-elected and appointed positions are being paid from $150,000 to $329,000, and that our teachers aren't getting raises, but you keep giving yourselves raises. That's an abomination. And then you have to have, and then the people of our community have to give our teachers supplies. Now that doesn't make any sense. And then you want to spend our money for ads to promote raising taxes? I mean, let's be real. This isn't, let's pass the bill before we have to know what's in it. This is just common sense. You all are very, very smart people, and I think you're smarter than how you're acting. And I think we, the people of Palm Beach County, need better management here, because it is really a business, what you're doing. But this just doesn't make any sense. And again, to whom much is given, much is required, and it's a privilege to sit in that seat. And I know that I'm impressed at some of these women that have just stood up here and some of these men, and I'm going to tell you, as a parent of Palm Beach County, that you all are elected. I will knock on every door if I see that you're going to vote to raise our taxes. I'll make sure that the next time that any of you guys, your names come up to vote, we're not voting for you. But thank you.
Hi, good evening, Superintendent and school board members. Tonight, as we set aside our differences, as was said earlier, we can all agree that we need to hold our leaders responsible to balance their budgets. Spending less or within budgets, raising taxes is not the answer. How about, as was mentioned earlier, how about lowering administrative salaries? How about being creative in other ways, like instead of raising taxes, how about get the community involved? How about PTAs raising money for their own students, their own children within their own school settings? People whom are most impacted are most responsible for the money that they spend versus third-party money, which we know is just spending other people's money, which is so easy to do. So involve the community with their own community expenses. And I do want to say, I home educated our children. We have 2 sons and a daughter, and I home educated them the entire time. And I still paid taxes that I wasn't even benefiting from. So I really do think that we need to have people within their communities and districts be creative about raising money. Secondly, school safety was talked about earlier. I am grateful for police officers. There are many here tonight. However, though many of their police cars say protect and defend, I think we need to reconsider this. This is not generally the situation. Usually they are not present during a situational need. That's why we call them to respond to our needs. They can't be everywhere all the time. They're not omniscient, omnipresent, or omnipotent. They are helpful, though. Let teachers and coaches, volunteers within schools, be able to conceal carry. Let the people that are right there in the setting, who are willing and interested and very able, let them help to deal with whatever the situation is so that they can carry in schools. And train the students, as was mentioned earlier, train the students to situational awareness with programs that are being offered, etc., to appropriately deal with the setting and the situation, just like we have fire alarms. And we've done that for years. Years and years ago, they had drills for like bombs. Do you remember that? Years and years ago, people would get under their desks because of that, because we were in issues with regard to war. And so let's be creative. Let's let the people that are on the premise be able to act appropriately. Let's don't spend more money in ways that we don't need to. Thank you.
Thank you. Justin Katz.
Thank you. I just wanted to also point out, because I didn't want to run over my time earlier as a delegate, the need to make clear the distinction between the previous tax that was passed by the voters 2 years ago, which was exclusively earmarked for capital expenditures and technology, versus the current referendum on the ballot, which is exclusively earmarked for operational costs vis-a-vis personnel and teacher raises. So I know it's something that is out there and is one of the most, if not the most common question. We passed the tax 2 years ago. Why are you asking for more? The simple answer is because legally the money that was generated from the previous tax, which is over a 10-year period, by the way, so the 80% of it simply has not been collected yet, it cannot be spent on a single human being. It has to be spent on product. It has to be spent on capital or technology. So that's one thing that I want to make sure that in your efforts to educate the public about the current referendum, that distinction is clearly made. And I'll close with a quote from my favorite founding father with regards to public education, James Madison. A popular government without popular information or the means of acquiring it is but a prologue to a farce or a tragedy, or perhaps both. Knowledge will forever govern ignorance, and the people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives them. Public education throughout the history of this country, when it was made accessible to all people, has been the only means of lifting them up and protecting them from tyranny. And I appreciate what you do. I appreciate what the 13,000 educators I represent on a daily basis do. And I look forward again to working with you to make sure we present the accurate facts to the public as we move forward in pursuing this referendum. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That concludes our speakers. And, the same as I did at the last meeting, I'd invite some of these speakers who are giving us so much misinformation, please contact the district so you can find out what the accurate information is. This time is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, second by Mrs. McQuinn. All in favor, all opposed. Motion carries.